This is my chili pan, favorite chili pan. I make a lot of chili when I make chili. Fill this up, it's pretty heavy. Cast iron retains a lot of heat whenever you're cooking. So when you pick it up, it's going to be kind of warm. So I came up with these here pads that fit right on the ears of the pan. And I have a little hanging down part to protect your fingers on the side of the pan whenever you're picking it up. And I tried the thinner one, but it didn't work out too well, and I'll show you the difference in 3-ply and 5-ply, and so that's the thicker one. So we're going to make another one of these. We're going to start off making the part that hangs down that protects the finger from the edge of the pot. And that's just simply chain stitch, long enough to fit the width of the handle. And then you just come back with the slip stitch. And you're going to do the slip stitch for 2 or 3 rows, just enough to protect the finger. And we'll get this here through, and then I'll break so as not to bore you. And with the 5 strands, you got to be sure to get in there. You don't have to, missed a couple strands here. Bring it through. And another slip stitch. Then you have your turning stitch. And you just go back for another row. And we've come over, we've got the pad protector finger, about the width of our finger. Now we're going to do for the thickness and over the top. And we're just going to do that by doing a chain stitch again. But you can get a couple of chains, and with this 5-ply, sometimes it's hard to get all of the plies through your loops. But just expect that. And you got to keep a little bit of tension so you can get back in there. And it looks like that will need one more. Then we just continue doing a chain stitch or a slip stitch now. Come through that top, come through here, come through the other one. That's the slip stitch. So we're going to go through the top, grab the string, bring it in. Try and keep a little bit of slack in your tension so it doesn't get too tight. Just keep on going here. And then when you come back around to where you're at your chain again, it's the same thing. You just continue to find a loop, run through, and continue doing your slip stitch for several more rows. And check to make sure that it will fit. And you keep doing that as you do a row. And I managed to get up to 3 rows. I had to take the chain here all the way apart again and add another loop. I was too short. Here I've gotten up to 3. Every time you do a loop around, check to make sure, and also helps to stretch it, to tighten it up so it fit. And try not to tighten up your tension too much, because that'll shrink it in, and you have to take it apart. I've had to take mine apart a couple of times, but keep going until you get enough to cover out to the end of your pot handle. Well, we managed to get it out to the width of the handle there, and we're at the end here. I think we're close enough that we can close this off. The way you close it off is you just go through a loop on each side. On this side, a loop on the other side, and that'll be your modified slip stitch. Come through, and go over to the next loop, bring it through, try and keep it tight because you're closing it up now. So to get the next loop, try and find the other side. And I think we got, looks like this is going to be the last one. Then you cut your line, pull this end all the way through so that locks that knot up, and then just bury it, the leftover strand inside of there. And there you have your custom made pot handle. Now we move on to the lid handle cover. And this is actually 3 different parts, if you can think of it. You have the top of the handle, then you have the part that's a cone around the handle, then you have the flat part that spreads out over the top. So if we look again, here's the top, then here's the cone, then here's where it spreads out so that it protects our hands when we grip. We start out with a chain, and it's going to be the length of the top with an extra loop for the turn. Then we do our slip stitch, and since this is kind of a narrow top, we need 1 row going over. So you have chain and 1 row of slip stitches. Try and get this through here. One more. Yeah, kind of hard to get this. Do our turning stitch. Then we go back, and you'll notice that's a short length, but that's just for demonstrating. I already have the next step ready to go. So you do another row of slip stitches going back. And that's where we end up here. Here we have our chain stitch, slip stitch coming over, slip stitch coming back. So that matches the top, and we check to make sure, and that is the very top. Now we're going to be working on the circle around, and it's a slip stitch. So we just go through, and we kind of keep our tension kind of moderate because we're making a cone coming down. And the difference is going to be when we get to the end here. If I can get to the end. Got one more stitch here. Here's a hole there. Instead of doing a turnaround stitch, we're just going to continue doing the slip stitches in a circle. Wherever we can find a loop, that looks like it'll be the next one, we do a slip stitch. We don't want to skip any places. We get our slip stitch going, and we just do that. Try and get in here, make sure you don't gather up 2. I'm going to go through just 1 slip stitch. Don't want to make it too tight, and that's just continue doing that around. And we'll end up with this slip stitch all the way around. And now we're coming down, and we want to tighten it up a little bit. And here again, I just cut that because I got the next step coming up. So now we want to try and get it in a little bit, hold it a little tight, and you hit the outside loops. Notice these are on the top and on the outside of the previous stitch. You continue with the slip stitch, And as you add rows, you check to make sure how it fits. And that'll be the next step. Here we've made several rows, and every time we add a row, we check to make sure how it fits. And it looks like we're down there as far as we can go. So now this is what I call a transition stitch. I haven't been able to find anything in the book, but what we're trying to do is we're going to double the amount of loops we have so that we can quickly flatten out. It's sort of like a transition. So what I'm going to do, here we are, we have our last stitch here, and you do a chain stitch, then you go through and do a slip stitch. For each loop that's existing, you take a chain stitch first, go through the stitch, doing a chain stitch going through both. Do a take first, go through, do a slip stitch. You gotta keep it kind of loose on your thing, on your tension, because you want to flatten out. So take a chain, take a slip stitch, take a chain, take a slip stitch. Sometimes you'll get lost and confused, and you'll have to back up and remember that before you go through a new loop, you do a chain first, then you do the slip stitch. And what you'll end up with, you notice you have this zigzag like X's. Well, that's where you've increased by double the amount of loops you're going to have to work with when you come all the way around. And we'll go ahead and finish that up and then show you. So we've gotten down to our last loop to go through. So we're going to take a chain and we're going to do a slip stitch. It would have to be right where they joined the two butts there. So now we're starting on these X's. Yeah, starting on the X's now. Get this down over that knot. So now we're back to just doing a regular slip stitch, but we want to have the tension real loose so it can flatten out. So you go through, bring it through the loop, make sure you have plenty of room there, about a ½ inch, and then you look for the other one. These are kind of X's like, so it's a little bit confusing. It's an odd way to look. So the outside here, the X, bring it through, plenty of room, then you get the inside of the X. Continue doing the slip stitch like that. Make it nice and sloppy, because this is where we're starting to fan out. We're really transitioning really quickly here from a small cone to a big flat pattern. So now it's the inside X, I think. Yep, the inside X. And this small X. So we'll keep doing that till we go all the way around one time. So we're getting near the end of making one loop around, getting away from those triple X or double X things. And here you see where it looks nice and smooth, like normal stitch should look like. Now we're just going to concentrate on doing a single stitch and get it on the outside. Try and get all the strands on this jute cord and make it kind of sloppy. You can leave the tension because we're trying to flatten out really quick here. And as you go around, you check to make sure it's going to sit down. It's not sitting high, because you're wanting to come out over the top now. As you can see here, you're wanting it to be like a hat. And that's what we do to finish up, and you just keep going around until you have enough to cover your fingers whenever you put down. and just finish it off.